And I think a lot of us have this idea of complete balance. You can kind of do it all, right? You can go to work, do your learning and your family life and social life. And I think that's kind of a myth.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the best MBA podcast in the world, Get to B School. This is your host, Drex, and I'm grateful that you're here. Thank you. Thank you for spending this time with us. Hope things are going well. Things are crazy over here. Things are very busy, but hey, that is a great thing. Fun fact, my brother was just in town. He's moving from New York to Wyoming, doing an awesome move there, and swung through, spent a couple of days with him and his family. It was great to have them in Chicago. Very, very fun. And now we're just playing a little bit of catch up today, trying to get back on board. It's always fun to step away, but fun to get back into the groove of things and accomplish what we like to accomplish. Today's episode is phenomenal. We get Paul Clancy, who is a friend of Andrew Katz. If you remember Andrew Katz, he's the guy who just quickly went up and down Mount Everest, little weekend trip. I'm grateful to Andrew for getting us in touch with Paul. He's doing amazing things over at UVA. He's going to medical school on top of business school. So he's doing the MD-MBA route, which quite frankly sounds impossible to me. And it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun to hear how he's doing that process and not just surviving, but that he really sounds like he's thriving. So he just has this really optimistic, fun, his friends call it Labrador energy. Thought it was great. The other really cool thing, besides getting an MD-MBA, is he has launched a nonprofit called Admissions Academy. Check out admissionsacademy.org to see kind of what he's building out there in the pre-med space. Applying to medical school is daunting, is what I've heard. Fortunately, I count myself very lucky that quite frankly, I have no idea, but I trust him. He says that it's daunting, and I really trust him because he's doing the same thing for business school applications. So go to admissionsacademy.mba for early access to amazing tutorial content for just how to get the application done. He's building it out now. He's looking for beta testers. Go to admissionsacademy.mba to sign up. In that same vein, Leland continues to support us with that same mission, is helping people accomplish their goals, their dreams. If you're looking for any kind of tutoring, check out the link in the show notes for Leland to sign up with a great one-on-one coach, as well as the amazing free sessions that they offer. So, learning about how to break into IB, how to break into consulting, how to break into business school. The list is quite frankly almost endless. They are just putting out a ton of great content. So check out the link in the show notes for that. Besides that, it's the usual. If you know someone who should be on the show, or if you should be on the show, please reach out. Thank you to everyone who already has. If you've reached out and we haven't had you on the show yet, I promise it's going to happen. And thank you for your patience there. If you haven't already, please consider leaving a 5-star review and sharing this show with a friend. That's what makes it really fun. So thank you to those who already have done that. Besides all that, I hope you're doing well. Hope things are moving for you. And we'll just keep this ball rolling. So let's get to the good part now with Paul Clancy. Paul, I'm so excited. Welcome to the podcast. Thanks for coming.
Of course. Thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be here. I've been a big fan binging the show. So
by way of a quick introduction from my end, you and I hardly know each other. I reached out to Andrew Katz. He was one of our previous guests and everyone loved him. I loved him. And I said, Andrew, introduce me to someone that you like. Someone like you. Said, I know just the guy. We're talking now. So Paul, thanks again. Can you introduce yourself a little bit to the listeners?
Yeah. So my name is Paul Clancy. I am currently just finished 21st grade. I am a MD-MBA student. So I'm a medical and business student here at the University of Virginia in the Darden School of Business. I will be going into anesthesiology residency in the fall. And the past 5 years now, I will been working on finishing up my medical degree, starting business school. And with all my extra free time, I recently launched a nonprofit and company called Admissions Academy, where we help people navigate the admissions process, starting with healthcare and business school, and eventually expanding to other fields as well.
It's going to be a ride to get through all of this. And I'm so excited for it.
Yeah. Lot to pack in.
Please walk the listeners through why an MD and an MBA. That's so much. What happened?
It's kind of funny because I have a kind of a unique path. A lot of people, there's this like kind of a meme that's like, oh yeah, you come out of the womb, you knew you wanted to be a surgeon. That was not me. I was going to be an engineer, and then kind of realized college, wanted to do medicine, switched down that path, got to med school and was like, yep, I'm going to be a doctor. First was going to be an orthopedic surgeon, switched to anesthesiology, and it was honestly a great field, very rewarding, impactful career. If you had told me like even first year of med school, I was going to do business, I would have laughed because I had no business background. I had no like connection with business, had never even, didn't know what it was. It's kind of funny. I had actually gotten accepted to Darden, was about to start business school in the summer, and someone mentioned MBB and consulting. I'm like, is BCG like the chicken company that they have a girl? Like I had I like this was my baseline, right? Just to kind of set the picture. But what kind of put me down that path was when I was in the healthcare system on my clinical rotation, started realizing I just had no clue how business worked, how the system was structured. I had patients and physicians that would talk about questions with the insurance system and the incentive structure. And I was like, I don't know any of this stuff and I don't have the language. And I was like, looking forward, I love learning. I can teach myself a lot, but I'm just not gonna have the time to do that. That was kind of half the reason. The other half was with my nonprofit I mentioned, Admissions Academy. I had this idea actually years ago, but I was like, I have all these things I want to do, but I have no clue how do you go from A to B. And Darden, we have an amazing bad institute on entrepreneurship, and they have like both the resources and also the faculty and the connections. I was like, Darden will give me kind of that skill set and that network I can use to realize my ambitions. So it's what kind of pushed me down that path. And honestly, I've absolutely loved it. Darden has been probably the most transformative experience of my life. As honestly shifted my mindset and shifted my person I'm going to be, my future career, and the impact I'm going to have in the world. So I'm extremely grateful to Darden. That's a little plug there. But definitely reach out to the admissions team here at Darden, Virginia. It's amazing.
I love people who go to Darden. We all fall in love with our own schools, but the people of Darden you have a certain fun energy. You really
Drink
love
the
it.
Kool-Aid.
Yeah,
we definitely do it.
You guys and the Duke guys, dude. It's the Team Pupa and Darden. So this is a bit of a brass tacks before we get to the obvious like time management and everything. But I would love a quick 30-second overview on how that process literally played out. So you were already in medical school and then you apply like any other student or any other pre-MBA would, just for someone who's possibly interested in the dual degree. What was that?
What I did the first 3 years of medical school, applied to Darden early action, which you have to do early action just for the scheduling aspect. And it was pretty much like any other student went through the process. I did get to use my MCAT score, which the MCAT's the big exam that med students take. So I did not have to take the GRE, which is very nice. Yeah. Just the MCAT, just, an 8-hour exam on, so much easier. But luckily I already had that score. And so I was able to use that, but went through this whole interview process, just like any other student, and was accepted early action. And it's nice because, I could only apply to Darden. So there was never a question of, looking at other schools or balancing that decision. And then the way the schedule worked is I applied. I started in the fall with the first year class, and I was able to do just Darden for that whole first year. So I kind of took a break from medical school, just was able to focus on the MBA. After I finished the first year, you kind of went back to the medical school. So like that summer, I did the iLab internship, which is for entrepreneurship, and also did a bunch of medical rotations. So a very busy summer. Front-loaded my whole schedule. Then in the fall, went back to Darden, front-loaded that schedule. I did double credit load. And actually, I was able to finish all the classes. So I am now, besides one independent study, I'm done with all the credits. But most students would take the last semester and kind of like bounce back and forth. It's nice you get at least the first year to really be a normal MBA student and get to go to all the social events, get to hang out with your classmates and develop those connections that are so essential to the MBA experience. Definitely very different vibes between medicine and business school. You can imagine.
I can't. My little brother's in medical school right now, and the amount of teasing that happens from him towards me is warranted, but extreme.
Yeah. Well, tell them to consider the dual degree program. It's highly recommend. I'll talk. Give him my number. We can chat.
That drives us right towards the time management aspect. So, Paul, talk us through. How does it work? What's a day look like? How are you structuring things?
For me, what I did was, I told a lot of students to do this, is if you can find upperclassmen or people who have gone through the process that you're trying to go through, they're going to have a lot of wisdom and tidbits you can take from that. And so I met with, every year we have about, 3 to 6 people who do the dual year program. So I met with like half of them and said, hey, like, what did the schedule look like? You have a spreadsheet, like plan everything out. There wasn't a ton of time I had to balance both at the same time. I might have like 2 weeks in the med school, 2 weeks back in the business school. And there was obviously, I still had the work on the side of like, do the medical rotation, then come home and do business school stuff. But usually I could be in like one place at a time. Zooming out, I think there was a few mindsets you have to kind of have to have that like level of just commitment and get that much stuff done. I kind of subscribe to the idea of seasons of your life. And I think a lot of us have this idea of complete balance 24/7, and you can kind of do it all, right? You can go to work and then you can do your learning and your family life and your social life. And I think that's kind of a myth, and especially coming from medical school, which we like to think that we're one of the more difficult of the graduate programs. Yep. There was times when you're extremely busy, and a lot of students, just like if you want to go to MBA school and you're kind of balancing a full-time job probably with the MBA admissions process and studying for like the GMAT, or when you start school and then you're doing the caseloads and the social life and recruiting, those are times when you're very busy. And so I think I gave myself grace, like, I'm not going to hit a PR at the gym this next month because I'm just like in maintenance mode. So I could focus on this for right now. And then as long as you come back to the other kind of stuff. And so I think that was really helpful. And then there are a lot of just general tips and systems I have and workflows to make sure that when I was trying to focus on something and get productive work done, I was actually able to do that. Because I think so many of us find there's a million distractions out there. And it's easy to say, I'm going to work all day. And it's like, yes, I sat at my desk all day, but it actually moved what I was trying to do forward. And especially with admissions academy, work a lot with students with, the MBA, the admissions and like the test prep. And especially with the test prep, there's a lot of stuff of like, yes, you studied, but did you actually get, are you actually learning, right? You're actually getting stuff done. A lot of people focus too much on like, oh, I have this new keyboard shortcut. It's like, those are great, but there's a lot of the stuff you have to have that kind of background to be able to work effectively. And that permeates through every aspect of school, business life, family life, everything.
I'm just selfishly curious here. Is there one tip that you could share that helps with productivity or something that helped you, one of your favorites?
A great question. I think this might be a hot take here. I think if you really want to excel at something, if you really want to like do a great job, you have to have focus. And the best definition I heard of focus came from, I think it was Alex Hormozy. And he talks about focus is basically the absence of other distractions. And so I think, there are times in medical school, right, when you're on your clinical rotations where I'm working for, operating room for like 12 hours and you come home and have to study and I have, multiple publications and working on the paper on the side. And I had to say like, when I'm in the OR, like I am focused on this. I'm not like letting my mind get distracted and thinking about this other stuff I have to do or trying to say I'm going to do 10 minutes here, 10 minutes here. It's like, I am blocking out this time to like get in the zone and just work on this and ultimately consider like, what do I need? Let's say a project like a research paper. It's like, there's going to be things that are going to actually drive it forward. And especially high achieving, high performing people like ourselves, it's easy to procrastinate by doing other productive things. And a lot of us might have the experience of like, yes, I'm so busy. So then I clean my entire house. That was productive, but that's not what you're supposed to be focusing on. And I think, and I still struggle with this, but continue reminding yourself, like thinking about reflecting on your day ahead of you. What do you really need to accomplish? And if you can start with that, like if you can start with a couple of hours of focused work, which is a lot harder than it sounds, you can get so much done that other people say, oh my gosh, this is crazy. And it's like, no, you're just able to kind of isolate and really put your energy towards what actually matters.
Okay. Yeah. I love that because it's so personal too. So often I'm trying to comfort myself with telling, myself that it's okay because you did XYZ. And when really XYZ wasn't the mission. The good, better, best is kind of how I look at things, try to look at things. And too often I'm taking comfort in the good instead of the best. Okay, Paul, this has been great so far. I think now the obvious next question is business school and medical school wasn't enough. You had to start a company. Admissions Academy. Let's talk about Admissions Academy. Just give a quick overview to start with.
With Admissions Academy, I'm going to be the first physician in my family. And so I'm really privileged in a lot of ways, but I remember going through the process and being like, what the heck is going on here? Like there's so many steps, and especially, I will say the, business school process, a little bit easier, a little bit nicer, higher acceptance rate, but there's so many kind of hoops to jump through. And there's so many things, I think a lot of people can probably relate to this, where it's like just not talked about. It's like, here's the essays. I have to write these essays. It's like, well, how do I do that? Like I feel like there might be a pattern here and things you should be focusing on and things the admissions committees are looking for, but it's just not known. And for me, there was MCAT, that big exam where I didn't I even know what it was really. And I was like, I have to figure this out. And I spent not studying. I spent probably 50 hours figuring it out. I ended up getting almost a perfect score, 100th percentile. But then I realized I learned so much going through that no one talks about. And so Admissions Academy started as just a way for me to be giving back to people at Michigan State, where I went to school first off, and be like, hey, this is what I use. This is my techniques. This is again, the productivity methods, how to actually review the questions, all those kind of things. And then I went through the admissions process. It was the same thing of hey, here's how to approach the whole process. Here's how to build the application. Here's how to interview well. And then I got to med school. It was the same thing of I got AOA, which is the honor award, top of your class med school. And it was the same stuff how do you do well in this? And then I go through the MBA admissions process and I see the same thing. I talked to, lucky enough, my friend group at here of half of them got the triple MBB offers for consulting. And it's hey, there's system that you had in place and knowledge that you had and things you did that enabled you to have success. Can we share that with other people? And that's, I think, the two cores of Admissions Academy is one, the best performers often have these systems and mindsets and actual things they're doing in the day-to-day, tactical things that they do that make them perform so well, both on the actual admissions process, but also it's often not just, writing your essay well, it's the things that went in to create that essay, the experiences that you had and the impact in your community that you made that creates such a stellar application. If that was a huge step, and then if we can record and document this information and be able to pass it along, then, the next generation of MBA students they can spend more time doing great work and having an impact and not like worrying about how do I navigate these essays. And the kind of core of all this is there's obviously amazing companies out there that have a lot of, one-on-one mentorship and consultants and such like that. But that's really financially out of reach for a lot of people. And I was pretty surprised. Someone who's like very frugal, like, might be the most indebted student here at UVA, living off loans and being like, people are paying $20,000 for their MBA admissions package, which is awesome for those who have the resources. But I'm like, I don't think it has to be like that. We can put out resources at a much lower cost point and scale them. So every student has the ability to say, hey, here's what I need to do. And this is laid out in front of me and have this complete roadmap. And so right now we're focused mostly on the pre-medical aspect and then medical school. We have, some beta testing for our MBA products, so MBA admissions, and then consulting and banking recruiting. Again, using our amazing network here at Darden and other business schools to really capture that information. So it's kind of interesting because so much of the systems actually overlap. The tests are a little bit different, but the strategies and a lot of the core fundamentals are actually very similar between different programs. And so we're able to kind of take the best parts of, med school, kind of optimize time management studying and bring that over to business school, other people who might not have heard of that stuff otherwise. More long-winded explanation, but that's kind of that core thesis there. And it's been honestly extremely impactful. We've been able to help a lot of people do a lot of data testing until we define and refine the product and make sure it's the best we can put out there. But have gotten great feedback so far. And it just means a lot too. Like when I just talked to a couple students last night, they're like, this was so helpful. Like I don't know anyone in medicine. Like I have no access to this kind of stuff. It's like you're changing the future of my life. And I'm like, look, that's what we're here to do.
Yeah. Okay. That is awesome. It seems kind of like you're parsing out two parts of the application. And one part is the black box. And I am a firm believer that there is a bit of the application process that you just can't control. You hear those stories about the perfect scores, the perfect resumes, and then getting turned down from every school,
Yep.
But there is, like you said, there's a lot of systems and mindsets that you can capture. And if you know where to look and how to capture them, you unlock a lot of doors.
Exactly.
It was just kind of really fun to hear how it started, just you finding success and then wanting to share that success. I'd have to imagine though that at this point, it's not only Paul Clancy's little tips and tricks, but you've been able to source other people's success, other people's tips and tricks. How have you been able to kind of build the library, so to speak?
It's kind of funny because I kind of quickly realized that, right? I have my own experience, but I'm a certain avatar and I'm very different from other people's upbringings and lives. And so it's important to capture not just my experience, but like what does someone from a different background, different region of the country, we make sure like they're represented too, right? Because everyone's different. And it's not just like, this is what worked for, this one white dude from the Midwest, right? I was like, we need to capture everything. But it's been awesome because I think when I'm honestly very passionate about this, right now we're kind of building out the team and we have talked like 10 or so consultants so far. We have a, physician advisory board for the medical product. And a lot of people, I'm like, hey, this is our goal, this is our vision, what we're working on. And a lot of people are like, yeah, like, I'd love to help. So I think it's really nice we were able to kind of capture the energy we're creating and just build out people who believe in that mission. Because really the mission is just, we just want to make this accessible and honestly more fair. Because I think if everyone kind of had that same level playing field of like, everyone knows what to do, we can kind of remove a little bit of that, like, well, so-and-so, they did well because they spent $20,000 and someone wrote all their essays. And we can just make it like, the best candidates actually can get through the process.
Man, I love that. And if I can echo that sentiment, that's a little bit of the mission behind this podcast. You want people to have access. Man, I love that. So before the call, you mentioned that you're opening up Admissions Academy to the MBA side as well. And you even mentioned that you were open to taking on some people who are interested as beta testers or just giving a little bit of access to the library. Can you walk the listeners how they can get involved?
I put some forms on the website just for this podcast. So if you go on admissionsacademy.mba, not .com, .mba, there is we have, I think, some resources like for pitching, just open on there. We also do some startup stuff as well. But anyone can just go and kind of fill out like a 2-minute form, and that sends a message to our team, and then our team will kind of reach out to you and say, hey, like, are you able to be a beta tester? Kind of what does that process look like? And you also can reach out to me directly. My email is paul@admissionsacademy.org. And like you said, right now we're kind of preparing for this new wave of spring, summer. There'll be a new MBA admissions cohort, obviously. And also we definitely want to be prepared by the fall for people starting in consulting and banking. So we're able to take a lot of resources here from people at Darden and some other business schools. But what's important is we need to make it the best product for the actual customer. And so getting students to go through it, say, hey, like, this is helpful. Kind of our ultimate goal is when you think about the one-on-one advisor experience, a lot of those questions just get asked over and over again. And so we're able to capture that and probably put it in an asynchronous format, like a course base, and be able to say, hey, we know all the problems you're going to have. We know all the barriers and the roadblocks. Like we can tackle all of those and we can answer all the questions, have that laid out. And that way we're able to scale that at a much lower price point than someone who has that package. And I more think of it not as much as replacing one-on-one tutoring. Oh, I honestly think a lot of students with this, they won't need that, but it's more that if you do decide, hey, I want someone to be talking to me directly, then it's like you can start such a higher playing field and the questions you would be able to ask can be so much more detailed. So again, admissionsacademy.mba. If you wanted the healthcare stuff, that's just admissionsacademy.org. And then my email is paul@admissionsacademy.org, and just trying to get as much feedback, talk to as many people as possible. So I would welcome any of your listeners to reach out, even if you just want to chat, or if you love our mission and you want to help out and support in some way, I would love to talk to you too.
This has been so fun. I'm very excited to see where Admissions Academy goes and just the volumes of people that it's going to help. Thanks, man. Our time is up, unfortunately, and I just can't thank you enough for coming on the show.
Of course. Well, thanks again so much for having me. Thank you also for, like you said, you've created such an amazing resource and there's so much wisdom, and you have people on the admissions committees at schools, right? Like they're the people who are making the decisions. So you have so many amazing conversations I would implore anyone to check out, because I think that curiosity, mindset, and learning is so impactful. So thanks for what you do. Thanks for having me on. And I look forward to hearing from some of your listeners.
You and Andrew, dude, you make me want to switch to Darden.
Dude, it's so funny because Andrew, I'd never met him. I had all these people like, yo, like you have to reach out. And I was like, yeah, this guy's sick. Like I'm seeing him, catch up with him next week.